Hello everyone. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for leaving my wife after she became emotionally abusive since giving birth? She topped it off by cheating, now she is begging me to reconsider? I, 28M, have been married to my wife, 27F, for 2 years, together for 4. 14 months ago we had our first baby. She hasn't gone back to work and I have been the sole breadwinner, her choice, and since she gave birth my wife became a nightmare to deal with. She became irritable, angry at me for the smallest reasons, complains about everything is somehow my fault, all she does is hold the baby all day, even if he didn't need to be held, and scroll through her phone, everything else is my responsibility. We haven't had sex for over a year and a half, and whenever I try to address it she lashes out at me because even though I'm the only who works and I do all the housework, yet I'm insensitive and don't care about her. I haven't brought up sex until 3 months postpartum. I was basically her emotional punching bag. I tried to get her to therapy, I tried to address her behavior, but all I get is more verbal abuse. I hated our marriage, I wanted to end it, but I was scared of the idea of co-parenting. I was scared of the social backlash of ending a marriage with a child involved. And also a small part of me was hoping that somehow things will get better. Well, last month she made it a lot easier to end it. She told me she was going to a bar with her friends. She came back home at 4 a.m. drunk. As soon as she slept I snooped through her phone and found texts between her and a random guy implying that she went to a hotel room with him. I was almost relieved when I saw them. I can finally walk away from this miserable marriage without any guilt or regret. The first thing I did was take a DNA test for the baby. He is mine. As soon as the results came back I informed my wife that I'm aware of her infidelity and our marriage is over. She broke down crying. She begged for my forgiveness. She tried to use every excuse in the book: postpartum depression, past trauma, alcohol. She promised to make it up to me. She said she would do whatever I want. Said that she doesn't want our family to break, but I wasn't having any of it. I have already hated this marriage, and the infidelity was just the nail in the coffin. We still live together, and she has been begging me to reconsider, promising me everything under the sun, but I have no intention to reconsider, and I told her she is not allowed to speak to me anymore. Am I the bad person? What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for not putting my stepdad before my dad once and saying out loud he's not my dad? My parents divorced when I, 17M, was 2. They split custody of me 50-50. I was 5 when my mom met my stepdad and 7 when they got married. My stepdad and I didn't have the greatest start. He mentioned changing my last name to his and my mom's, and when I said no he told me I didn't need to react so badly. That he didn't think he was so bad that I'd act disgusted. My mom stepped in and said it didn't need to happen and we could just be a family. But anytime my stepdad and I interacted after, it was him wanting us to bond and whining if I didn't want him to teach me stuff like a typical dad would. And I held it against him that he wanted to change my name, and because of it I didn't want to spend any time with him. I gave him a really hard time, and I'll admit it. I still think he's an arrogant ass for suggesting it when I already have a dad. He wasn't a deadbeat or a dad I never knew. He was still in my life. We butted heads other times too. Like when I tried playing football for a while. He wanted that to be our thing and wanted to be the one who took me, but I wanted my dad. Then he wanted me to try boxing, said it could be a good chance for a father-son experience, and I told him I'd asked my dad about it. He told me he said he wanted us to do father-son bonding. Not me and my dad. I said I couldn't do it with him because he wasn't my dad. My mom told me I didn't get to throw that in my stepdad's face, and she told me to be more appreciative of him. Our relationship relaxed a little bit, but then when I was 11 my dad got really sick. He almost died. And I didn't get to be in his custody for almost 2 years because he was either in the hospital or a care facility. I got to visit him. But some weeks when he was really sick he wasn't allowed visitors. My stepdad really tried to step up and take over as dad. I resented it because it felt like he was just waiting for my dad to be out of the picture. The resentment also came from his resentment that I went to visit my dad as much as I did. He'd complain loudly to mom that even when dad was out of my life he couldn't get me to give him a chance as a dad. There were a few times he outright refused to take me to see dad. Mom was sick and couldn't drive me once, and I had to call in some family to take me. The other time she was out of town. Again, same thing. He tried to stop me from leaving, but our fighting woke up my half-sisters from their nap and I slipped out before he could stop me. As soon as my dad was able he got out of the care place and he took back his shared custody time. My relationship with my dad only got closer once he recovered, and when I was 14, I decided to live with him as my main home and visit my mom's. I go to her place one weekend a month now. My relationship with my stepdad is really strained. My relationship with my mom is also kinda strained because of a lot of stuff. My relationship with my half-sisters is good. They look up to me and I enjoy doing stuff with them. I find them way better company than my mom and stepdad. My stepdad's company has this Father's Day camping vacation planned for the employees and their families. He wanted me to go with them. It's from Thursday through to late Sunday, and they plan to stay until Monday morning. He told me he never gets to have me join for Father's Day, and there's some stuff for dads and their kids there, so he wanted that for us. I told him I wasn't going to miss Father's Day with my dad, but I hoped they'd have a good time anyway. My stepdad told me it was just one Father's Day, and why was I being such an ass about it? He said I never put him before dad. It's always my dad this and my dad that, and when asked to choose, I choose my dad. He said just once he'd expect me to choose him, especially after the time my dad was out of the picture. He said he stepped up and finally tried to get that father-son relationship going. He told me it made him sick how often he came in second to dad. I told him it's because he's not my dad and that's why I'm not putting him first. I said he'll never be first. My mom heard us, stepped in and scolded me for using the "you're not my dad" thing. She said I was being unfair by never prioritizing him and that the "not my dad" line is not allowed in her house. I argued back and said it's true and he needs to hear it and accept it. She told me she doesn't care that it's a childish thing to say to someone and shows no respect for his efforts. She told me I'm the only son they have and it wouldn't kill me to give him a chance to have a son for a while. I said I wasn't going to, and the fighting continued until I left. Ever since, my mom has tried to talk sense into me, and she said I need to understand how awful my behavior is. Am I the bad person? What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section, and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for putting my husband in an uncomfortable situation with his parents? I, 29F, have had issues with my husband's, 29M, parents ever since the birth of our child 7 months ago. Most of the issues are related to my MIL being an entitled grandma's hogging baby at family functions, negative comments about how we dress our baby for practicality rather than the cutest clothes, and other behaviors that make it all about her and her wants. In the beginning, this caused major issues between me and my husband. He didn't understand why these behaviors were so upsetting to me. Over time, he began to see my perspective more clearly. The most recent situation with his parents is where I may be the unholy. At our Christmas Eve church service, we had to take 2 cars for everyone to fit. I went with the baby and my in-laws early to save seats while my husband and his brothers finished getting ready. When we got to church, I asked my FIL to hold baby so I could take off my coat. He almost immediately passed the baby to MIL on the opposite end of our row. I was extremely upset because it felt like they set this up on purpose. With it being my baby's first Christmas, I wanted to be able to sit with my little family. However, rather than dealing with it myself, I texted my husband to intervene once he got there. I later found out that he never saw the text. He just saw how stressed I looked and immediately figured out why. He tried to ask his dad to get the baby back for him, but FIL refused. My husband then asked his mom for the baby back, and it took him asking at least 10 times for her to listen. She kept asking why and even slapped his hand away when he tried to take baby. Eventually she gave the baby back, but then she proceeded to sulk for the rest of church and the drive home. This was almost 2 months ago. MIL brought it up with my hubby last night and accused him of being rude. She said that because of her chronic pain, holding our baby is the only time she feels joy. She also complained that my parents get to hold baby during church, so why not her? Hubby immediately defended me and said that my parents actually respect us when we ask for our child back. He explained how anxious I was and that he didn't want her to make him choose between respecting his wife and respecting his parents. Now things feel super tense and I can't help but wonder if I caused all of this. Should I have stood up for myself instead of letting my husband take the fall? Am I the bad person? You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.